Welcome to our IPL Team Maps from last season, part 2. A quick recap for everyone who wasn't here last time on how these team maps actually work. At the top is the total. This basically tells you how good or not good your team is overall. Then on this side is all the batting, and on this side is all the bowling. Essentially, you want to be like this. A nice, lovely shape prodding out. The further out you are from the center of the circle, the better you are as a team. You don't want to be one of these teams that's kind of trapped in here in the middle. This isn't good.
If you need a VPN, go Nord. Use nordvpn.com/Kimber to get a 2-year contract with a discount, plus 4 extra months, plus gifts in some markets. It's completely risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. The link is in the show notes. Protect your computer like a blocker protects the stumps with NordVPN today.
This is not averages or economy, this is a ratio system, and it's weighted for different parts of the game for what is more important at that time, so it is partly contextual. The easiest way to explain this is, when you're bowling in the power play, wickets are really, really important. When you're bowling at the death, wickets are not important. So we weight that with an algorithm. And then we look at the ratio compared to the other teams. And we have 2 kinds of maps as well. This one looks at teams and how they use spin and pace and how they play spin and pace. All right, for part 2, let us start with Mumbai because they're like a team that people talk about a lot, right? And you can see instantly just how different they are than the average, which is not. They were almost bang on average in many different ways last year. I have them as a slightly above average batting team pretty much all the way through, or maybe a par in some periods. Looking at this, especially the power play, you kind of want what we saw from Rohit Sharma in the ODI World Cup to happen in the T20 World Cup, and for him to just start slapping the ball everywhere. Of course, they weren't too bad in the middle, and so if they can use Hardik Pandya a little bit in the middle and actually free him from his anchor days and allow him and Tim David to go nuts at the end, they could actually make all of this slightly better. But the issue for them is quite clearly bowling. Let's start with the power play here. They went out and got Madhushanka, which is great. He would fix this. Unfortunately, he's already not available. The other 2 seamers they got with Tushara and Coetzee. They will help a little bit in the middle here, but obviously death bowling is probably where they're going to be their most useful. But if they want, they also have Mohammad Nabi, who can help them here, and I suppose also here, and probably here as well. Now let's have a look at the Punjab Kings, and let's just look at how similar they are to Mumbai, right? You can see there, they're just not quite as good at any of the things that Mumbai is actually good at. But let's get rid of Mumbai for a minute, because we don't actually need them there, and let's have a look at them just compared to average. Yeah, this is not ideal. Essentially, they have 2 huge issues here. They absolutely suck in power play batting, and they're a terrible bowling team. They do manage to pull this back pretty well when you look at the middle batting and also in the death. So it's not like it's dragging down everything, but you can't start games of cricket this badly. We're talking about them being 23% worse than other sides in the power play. That's not a good number. So they did go out and get Riley Rousseau, and he will fix some of this problem, but obviously the batters who are there are just going to have to get a lot better as well. On the bowling side, they got Harshal Patel, and he will help part of this, but even at his best, if he's getting maximum revolutions on his slower balls, well, he's certainly not going to help them much in the power play. He should give them a little bit of boost in the middle and a little bit of a boost at the death. Outside of that, what did they do? Chris Wokes doesn't look like he's going to be able to solve all these issues. So they're probably hoping that Sam Curran does a lot better or that Nathan Ellis takes over. I think both of those things are optimistic, but hey, let's see. I mean, all things considered, there's just not a lot that's inspiring from this shape. Let's have a look at RCB in here. And you can see that comparing to Punjab, they certainly have some nice little shapes. And certainly also comparing to average. There's some weaknesses in here as well, but this is not too bad at all. Their power play batting is absolutely extraordinary. But by the end of the game, they're kind of pretty ordinary. It doesn't really flow on the way that it should be. And that's because they are a very top-heavy, top order. So with that in mind, they went out and they got Cam Green, who also probably needs to open the batting, maybe batting at number 3. It just feels like they're just putting extra players in. Will that squeeze Glenn Maxwell down to a more natural position for him? Maybe that helps. I don't know. But looking at this, a top order player was not who they should have been going after. And if you come around to the bowling, you can see that they're the best power play team. In fact, they are incredible. 66% better than other teams when bowling in the power play. So why did they go and give Alzari Joseph a lot of money? Because After that power play, again, they don't really cash in. Their middle overs bowling is not particularly good. They certainly need a lot more spin option. And who did they go and get? Mayank Dagar in his 3 games? Like, I don't know. I'm not feeling this at the moment. It is possible that they're going to use Ferguson more in the middle, and I'm okay with that. As certainly if Lockie is back to peak Lockie, that's fine. Cam Green can maybe bowl an over in there as well. But looking at this, and looking at Alzarri Joseph and Cam Green, it doesn't actually look like they went to try and sort this out. It's some very odd decisions. All right, let's add the Royals to this, and you can see straight away just a far more normal shape from the Royals. But let's get rid of RCB for a moment, and you can see how it is even more so. Very, very standard from the Royals. They are not particularly bad at anything, but also not particularly brilliant at anything. If I had any issue here, I'd say that their middle order batting is a little bit light. They have actually signed up a Shubham Dubey on the back of 7 games, and they spent 6 crores on him. So maybe the idea is that he comes in here, and he's obviously been scoring very, very quickly at the lower level, but not from many games. On top of that, from the internationals, they could throw Rodman Powell in there as well. So maybe they've given themselves a couple of options, but I'm not buzzing about either of those. On the bowling side, they picked up Nandri Berger and Avesh Khan. And I rate both of these bowlers. I'm not quite sure what level they're at, but they didn't spend a lot of money, and that should help. This is where they need their assistance, though. Looking at the way they spent their money, I think they believe that they're a slightly better team, and they can actually maybe make some more impact than they did last year. And let's see if they're right. Let's have a look at these sunrises here. This is a bit of an odd shape in here. You can see there's some pretty major flaws, but let's have a look at it a little bit closer. They were obviously pretty terrible at almost everything last year, and so they spent all their money on one player who, last time he was in the IPL, wasn't particularly good. I don't know what more I can really say about what they did here. They also got Hasaranga, and I think they got him at a pretty good rate, although I don't know if he's retired or unretired, or if he's banned or unbanned as we currently speak. But for this section here, I think Hasaranga is going to be really, really important for them. But 20 crores on Pat Cummins, when really power play bowling and death bowling are the 2 things you're not the worst at, doesn't make sense, right? This is probably where I would have spent my money, if I'm being honest, looking at this. So maybe they could fit Travis Head in. The problem is that now that they're forcing Pat Cummins in, and Hasaranga, when he is unbanned, will definitely have to play, and Klaassen will definitely play, there aren't that many spots. So they've put themselves in an awkward position. But perhaps if Head can fix this, they're not too bad here, and Pat Cummins can maybe even slap a few at the end with Hasaranga. This looks all a little bit better. Hasaranga can fix this, and the bowling and the top and tail bowling doesn't get any worse. This is what, an okay side? They've certainly got a lot of players who can win matches on their own within their setup. You can see here that Mumbai really enjoyed the pace bowlers last year. So you can see here that they use more pace than the average team. However, their pace bowlers are not doing particularly well. Their batters are doing okay, but that doesn't suggest that it was such a great wicket for batting against pace that there should be this amount of drop-off, especially if you're going to use it that much. Let's just go down to here. Their batters are doing great against spin. That makes sense because this is a wicket you want to bowl extra pace on. However, what about when they were bowling spin? This could just be that their spinners did really well on low usage or when they were away on other wickets. I'm not sure. But it's a bit odd that you're using this much pace and it's doing horribly, and using this much spin and it's doing quite well. So we can see this is probably not the ideal shape for Punjab, but we kind of knew that coming in. You can see, again, another team that uses a little bit more pace, but also another team that doesn't particularly use it well or doesn't handle it well. And the good news is, also their batting is not particularly dominant against pace. Interestingly enough, they're worse when they bat against spin, and they're much worse when bowling against spin. From this map, I can't actually tell you what they should do other than wait for the mega auction. This isn't a bad shape at all from RCB, but it's quite interesting up here at the top. You can see that they bowl 45% more pace than anyone else, and their quicks absolutely have backed that up for them. And the good news is that they can also bat against pace, so they can actually have wickets that help the seamers at home. But there is more of an issue over here that they didn't really do particularly well against spin, and that's batting and also when bowling spin. So looking at their current lineup, I'm not sure that's going to massively change this year. You can see here that Rajasthan are a very different shape compared to everyone. They bowl spin 26% more than other sides, and when they do bowl pace, it hasn't gone particularly well for them. Interestingly enough, they don't actually bat that well against pace either. They bat really well against spin. That's probably Ashwin pinch blocking. At least that's my story, and I'm going to stick to it. And they bowl spin really well. No surprises there, and that's why they're using it. So this kind of makes sense. They probably want more wickets that are going to help them with spin, but it also makes sense over here that they've gone with people like Avesh Khan and Andrew Berger, who might be able to help them with seam bowling at times. Probably won't help them here though. And we can have a good look at the Sunrisers here. They bowl a little bit more pace, but they're almost bang on average if you have a look at it. Unfortunately, when they do bowl pace, it hasn't worked particularly well for them. The good news is that they're far worse at batting it than they are bowling it. I don't know if that's good news. It's news. And you've got here that batting against spin, that's actually fine. I think that holds up okay. The problem is that they can't bowl any spin, right? So this is where they need Hasaranga to be unbanned or whatever the situation is over there to help them. But, you know, there are plenty of players in their side that can play against spin. They can maybe even crank their wickets up a little bit more with someone like Hasaranga around. This is where they're hoping Pat Cummins to help them. And, okay, let's see if that goes. And this is probably where they want Travis Head to help them. It's just... we're mentioning a lot of overseas players and they don't have that many spots, right? And they already have some good overseas players. So it's tricky. I must admit, looking at all this, it does feel like to me that there's a lot of poor constructed teams who haven't actually done a great job when it comes to fixing the issues that they had. But remember, in one season, especially what is still a fairly short season by professional sports standards, you can just have a bunch of form dip. So all those teams that have done poorly and don't look particularly good on some of these graphics, it's not the end of the world, right? I mean, it might be. And if you like what we've done here, you can actually come back pretty much every day of the IPL to either this channel or our Good Areas live channel, and there will be something on. We'll be doing 2 to 3 videos a week, things like power lists and deep dives into data, and look at the backstories of some of the best players in the competition. Also on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Wednesday, we'll be doing live scoreboards over at the other channel. There'll be other podcasts over there as well. You can go over to goodareas.co, and if you see any graphics that you like from this video and I click too fast beyond them, you can just go over there and streamline it and look at exactly what you want in your own time. But during this IPL, remember to like, subscribe, and get the t-shirt.